Imagine believing that the most important decisions of your life depend on someone who claims to understand the divine. Someone who says, this is what God requires. This is what God rejects. This is the only path. Throughout history, that role has taken many forms. In many religious traditions, that role was assumed by the priest. But the priest was not always the powerful figure we recognize today. How did priests become more than spiritual guides? How did they become the people who could define humanity's relationship with God? But once a belief became shared by a community, a new problem appeared. Who preserves it? Who performs the rituals? Who decides what it means? And this is where the priesthood emerges. A group of people whose role was to maintain the community's relationship with the sacred. But the priest was never simply a person who prayed. The priest performed rituals, preserved sacred traditions, and interpreted what the community believed the divine required. And because communities depended on these interpretations, priests gained a new kind of power, authority over the sacred. The sacred became something that now required managers. In ancient Mesopotamia, temples were not only places of worship, they became centers of economic and social life. The temple collected offerings, managed resources, and organized rituals believed to maintain harmony between humans and the gods. The person who performed the ritual influenced something people believed was essential: their connection to the divine. This pattern continued for centuries. When religious authorities defined what God required, people organized their lives around those teachings. One of the most famous examples occurred in medieval Europe. For centuries, many Christians believed that certain actions could reduce punishment for sin. The practice of granting indulgences became widespread, and in some cases they were sold or promoted through financial contributions. People gave money believing they could reduce spiritual punishment for themselves or for loved ones who had died. But critics argued that forgiveness had become connected to payment. In 1517, Martin Luther publicly challenged the practice. The controversy became one of the sparks that ignited the Protestant Reformation. The question was no longer only, what does God want? It became, who has the authority to decide? Religious institutions can preserve wisdom. They can protect traditions. They can unite communities. But institutions also have something to protect: their authority. The same tension appears whenever a spiritual institution gains authority. A belief begins with a sacred claim. A community gathers around it. Leaders preserve it. Institutions protect it. And the institution may begin defending its own authority. The question becomes, is the system serving the search for truth? Or is the search for truth being shaped to serve the system? This question is not only about the past. Today, many believers still exercise faith through institutions that preserve teachings, rituals, and interpretations passed down through generations, and many find genuine meaning through them. But the deeper question remains, where does personal faith end and institutional authority begin? The divine spark does not ask people to reject wisdom. Teachers can inspire, communities can support, traditions can preserve, but no human institution can completely own the relationship between a person and the divine. Because when a human institution claims it alone possesses truth, questioning becomes almost impossible. The search itself is placed at risk. The inner journey requires something more: the courage to question, the humility to seek, the awareness to look beyond the voices around us and within ourselves. Who stands between you and the divine? A priest? A teacher? A tradition? An institution? No person and no institution should own your connection with the divine. The search for truth begins when you have the courage to question, seek, and discover for yourself. This is the divine spark. Remember, God lives within you. Until next time, keep seeking, keep listening to the quiet voice within.